I used to believe that showering my child with unwavering love would cultivate gratitude in his heart. I never envisioned that the son I nurtured, the one I raised with my own two hands, would secretly procure a substantial life insurance policy on me, then orchestrate a plan to make my demise appear as an accidental mishap during a purported hiking expedition. However, unbeknownst to him, I had already initiated my own carefully constructed counterplan. "Ethan, I've just transferred $45,000 to your account," I said, my voice as soothing as ever, contacting my son, Ethan Miller, on the phone. "Ensure you purchase high-quality nutritional supplements for Amelia. Prioritize her well-being and that of the baby, all right?" Ethan responded instantly with a hearty chuckle, his tone breezy and carefree, a stark contrast to the calculating individual I knew him to be. "Absolutely, Mom. Fatherhood is on the horizon, and you can rest assured that Amelia and our little one will receive the finest care." I considered prolonging the conversation, savoring this rare moment of connection, but he abruptly interrupted me. "Okay, Mom, I have to go. Things are hectic on my end." His words lacked even a hint of appreciation, not even a simple thank you. I stifled my disappointment, forcing a gentle reply. "All right, dear. I love you, sweetheart." Just as I prepared to disconnect the call, I heard a statement that would forever echo in my mind. "Finally, the old woman sent the money." My heart plummeted. Amelia's voice. I froze, holding my breath, clutching onto a sliver of hope. Perhaps Ethan would interject, offer some defense, even a half-hearted word in my support. I couldn't have been more mistaken. Ethan scoffed, the sound dismissive and sharp. "She's far too cautious. We had to fabricate a pregnancy to secure those funds." My fingers trembled, my grip on the phone tightening involuntarily. In that instant, every cherished memory shattered, replaced by an icy chill that permeated my being. Ethan had always been financially irresponsible. Before his marriage, he frequently sought financial assistance from me, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars at a time. And I consistently helped him, each time. When gambling debts mounted, I was the one who salvaged his situations, one crisis after another. But I wasn't naive, I understood his nature. I always maintained a financial reserve, a safety net, just in case. This time, though, I lowered my guard completely. Because he claimed Amelia was pregnant. And now I finally grasped the truth. A truth colder than the Arctic winter, sharper than any blade. Following the wedding, Ethan's visits became infrequent, his calls sporadic. I rationalized his absence, attributing it to the demands of married life. I concocted countless excuses for him. But today, I recognized my insignificance in his world. Through the phone, I heard Amelia's cheerful voice, discussing with Ethan how they should allocate my money. I stood frozen in the living room, the phone still in my hand, a profound silence echoing in my ears, as if the entire world was mocking me. Only when the connection terminated did the weight of my regret fully settle upon me. It was far too late. 2 days later, Ethan appeared at my doorstep. After years of solitude, the sound of a knock felt foreign. I rubbed my eyes, approached the door, and opened it to find Ethan standing there, Amelia by his side. I offered a warm smile, striving to maintain a natural tone. "What brings you here today?" He grinned, as if everything were perfectly normal, thrusting a bag into my arms without a second thought. "Had a free day, thought I'd check in on you," he said casually. "Picked up some supplements, figured you could use a boost." Amelia quickly added, her smile polished and rehearsed. "Helen, you have no idea. Ethan talks about you constantly. He's been overwhelmed with work and hasn't had time to visit." I chuckled inwardly, their performance was flawless. If they wished to play a part, I had no problem joining them. "Just the thought means the world to me," I said softly, patting Ethan's arm. "Come in." Once inside, Ethan gestured for me to sit. "Mom, don't just stand there. Let's chat." I sensed this visit was more than a friendly check-in. He scratched his head in that deliberately casual manner, glanced at Amelia, and said offhandedly, "So, you know Amelia's pregnant. our apartment's cramped. We were thinking, maybe we could move in with you for a while. I remained silent, offering a faint smile. Amelia sighed dramatically, as if burdened by the suggestion. It's been difficult, Helen. The space is so small, and with a baby, it's not healthy. There was. They'd coveted this house for some time. My home is conveniently located near the city center. Quiet, secure, with excellent amenities. The property value exceeds $1 million. Ethan grew up here, he knows its worth. I nodded calmly. Of course you can. Ethan's eyes lit up, though a hint of dissatisfaction remained. He hesitated, probing further. Since we'll be living here, perhaps it's best to transfer the house to my name? I can handle property taxes and maintenance. Amelia chimed in sweetly, almost condescendingly. Exactly, Helen. We're family, right? You've done enough. You should relax, not worry about chores and bills. Their performance amused me. Once, I would have agonized over Ethan's requests, willingly sacrificing anything for him. But now, he acted as if everything I owned was inherently his, believing a simple, "You're my mom," would suffice. But this time, my heart remained untouched. Sure, I said softly. Ethan froze. Amelia's expression flickered with surprise, they hadn't anticipated such ease. I pressed my lips together, maintaining my smile. Go on, then. Continue your performance. I'm curious to see how far you'll take it. After Ethan and Amelia moved in, the atmosphere subtly shifted. On their second day, Amelia, with her practiced sweetness, snuggled beside me. Helen, she said gently, how's the house transfer progressing? I sighed quietly. It's more complicated than expected, it'll take a few more days. Her smile faltered momentarily, but she quickly recovered. That's fine. We're not in a rush. Of course they weren't, they had no choice. Until the paperwork was finalized, the house legally remained mine. Their demeanor became disturbingly wholesome. Amelia started preparing my breakfast. Ethan, who hadn't lifted a finger in years, suddenly offered to clean the kitchen. Every word, every gesture, oozed sweetness, the epitome of a devoted daughter-in-law and considerate son. But I knew better. It was all an act. They were biding their time. Ethan had never served anyone. As a boy, he treated me like a servant. As a man, he barely called. And now, he was wiping down my dining table? I had raised him, sacrificed everything for his future, and in return, he viewed me as a gold mine. That night, sleep eluded me. I tossed and turned, plagued by a question, was I being too cold? Too heartless? But if I were truly cold, would I have forgiven him so many times? Would I have bent over backward, giving him countless chances? I clung to hope for his change, believing that motherly love could heal anything. Just as I questioned my detachment, I heard whispers from the living room. I'm not an eavesdropper, but something compelled me to approach the door. I pressed my ear against the wood, and what I heard became an indelible memory. As soon as she signs over the house, Ethan said, his voice cold, we'll evict her. I froze. Amelia giggled. Exactly. And by then, her inheritance will be ours. Mother. Ethan scoffed. She means nothing to me. She's dead weight. I have you now. What do I need her for? A chill shot through me. This was the child I loved unconditionally? I held our home together. I raised him. I bailed him out of every mess. And now, he viewed me as a burden. My mind drifted to a memory from his college years when he accumulated tens of thousands of dollars in gambling debts. When loan sharks appeared, I saw the depth of his predicament. He knelt, sobbing, begging for forgiveness, vowing to quit gambling. I believed him, too easily. I froze his bank accounts, confined him to the house. Instead of remorse, he raged, smashing things, threatening suicide. If you keep this up, I'll kill myself, he screamed. Yet, I couldn't give up on him. I hoped for redemption. Until one day, I brought him soup, he threw it in my face. The scalding liquid burned my arm. He stood over me, seething. How long are you planning to torture me? I cleaned up the mess silently, my skin blistering. Was it wrong to bail him out? To give him another chance? Or was my mistake believing someone so emotionally barren could learn to love? Now, his life appeared perfect, but he'd grown colder, greedier. In his eyes, I was worthless. That night, I cried myself to sleep. I didn't know something far worse awaited. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds. I turned to the side of the bed. Buddy. The rug was empty. My old companion, Buddy, usually nestled at my feet, was gone. A knot formed in my chest. I sat up, glanced toward the bedroom door. Buddy should have been there, tail wagging, ready for our walk. He wasn't. Buddy? Come here, sweetheart. I called, checking the living room, kitchen, everywhere. His water bowl was full, but his food dish was empty. Unease grew. Buddy! I called louder, stepping into the yard. The dew-kissed grass smelled fresh, but I couldn't appreciate it. Buddy! Come on, this isn't funny. Only birdsong answered. My fingertips grew cold. Dread replaced anxiety. I searched every room. His dog bed, once cluttered with blankets and toys, was pristine, as if no dog had ever lived there. He hadn't wandered off. He'd been taken. A chill shot up my spine. I entered the living room. Ethan and Amelia were eating breakfast. Amelia scraped her nails against her plate. I forced my voice steady. Ethan. Amelia. Have either of you seen Buddy? Ethan didn't look up. He bit into bacon. Oh, the dog? I took him out this morning and abandoned him. A roar exploded in my mind. You what? My voice was broken. My nails dug into my palms. Ethan glanced up, chewing lazily. It's just an old dog. Always getting in the way. Figured the house would be quieter without him. My ears rang. You have no idea what he meant to me, I said, trembling. He shrugged. Come on, Mom. Don't make a big deal. You're 60. What are you doing keeping a dog? You wasted 12 years and money on that mutt. I did you a favor. I stared, speechless. Amelia said casually, honestly, Helen, you should thank Colin. He made the right decision for you. I stood frozen. An old photo sat on the coffee table. I was holding a 1-year-old Buddy. He'd been my comfort, my companion. And they'd taken him without remorse. The sun shone, but I'd never felt colder. My heart had collapsed into a void. Ethan had hurt me before, but I never imagined the final blow would come from a dog. It was time to end this farce. Colin and Amelia showed no remorse. I spent the afternoon in my room, an eerie calm settling over me. Buddy, if you were here, I'd want you to see this. See how they'll pay for their cruelty. The next day, I returned home with a document disguised as a house transfer agreement, smiling as I handed it to Ethan. All the paperwork is ready, I said evenly. Consider it a gift. Ethan snatched the papers, his voice brimming with excitement. Amelia came downstairs, her smile widening. But when she reached the final page, her expression faltered. Her eyes narrowed. She dropped onto the couch. Well then, this house is ours. So, when are you moving out? Just as expected. I blinked. Move out? Where would I go? Amelia shrugged coldly. That's your problem. We're not responsible for where you live. I turned to Ethan, my voice soft. I really don't have anywhere to go. Couldn't I stay here for a while? He looked away. There are rentals. Just find a place. But I couldn't leave yet. I gently took his arm. I've been taking care of you. I can keep cooking, cleaning. I won't be any trouble. Amelia nodded. Fine. Let her stay. At least she's useful. She already saw herself as the mistress of the house. Ethan didn't argue. Yeah, whatever. Stay. I hid my smile. The more relaxed they became, the easier it would be to expose them. I'd seen through them since the wedding preparations when Ethan drained my funds to fulfill Amelia's extravagant demands. I paid for everything. Now, I was back in my own home, playing the role of an unpaid housemate. From then on, Amelia's entitlement grew. Bring me some water, she barked one afternoon. Seriously, you're getting worse. I forced a smile and brought her water. She spat it out, splashing me. Are you trying to burn me alive? Me and the baby? The fury almost shattered my composure, but I managed a thin smile. Sorry, I'll get you another one. She clicked her tongue. Forget it. Go grocery shopping. Make something decent for dinner. I nodded, left, and a plan formed in my mind. I selected ingredients for my revenge menu. Not greasy fast food or sugar-laden desserts, too obvious. I'd serve them something subtle, effective. I filled my cart with comfort food, high-calorie, addictive dishes, creamy mashed potatoes, buttered toast, baked macaroni and cheese, duck confit, pumpkin soup, processed meats, high-sodium sauces. Everything they loved. Hearty, nourishing-sounding dishes that would slowly weigh them down, fog their minds, dull their bodies. That night, I laid out a full spread. Ethan devoured the casseroles. Mom, your cooking's better than ever. Amelia sipped the soup. Looks like keeping you around was a smart move after all. Eat as much as you like, I said sweetly. You both look like you've lost a little weight lately. I watched them gorge themselves, suppressing a grim smile. They didn't notice the trap closing around them. And I kept cooking. Day after day. The more they ate, the calmer I felt. Every bite brought me closer. But something threw my plan off course. While tidying the living room, I glanced at Ethan's open laptop. My blood turned to ice. The screen displayed a browser window, how to take out a high-value life insurance policy for an elderly family member. Common methods of going missing without detection. How to reassign a trust fund beneficiary after death. I read a few lines before a chill spread down my spine. My life had been reduced to a dollar amount. A target. Maybe it was fate, but that accidental glance might have saved my life. Without hesitation, I drove to the insurance office. Hi. I'd like to check if anyone has taken out a policy under my name. The employee pulled up a file. Yes, Ms. Miller, he nodded. There is a high-value life insurance policy registered under your name. Premium tier. One of the most expensive plans we offer. I took the document, my hands like ice. I didn't need more proof. I knew what Ethan and Amelia were planning. To them, I wasn't family, I was a payout. When I returned home, they were lounging, waiting. Ethan stood, even reached for my bag. Hey, Mom. You must be exhausted. He always acted dutiful when he needed something. I sat down, my expression unreadable. What's all this about? Ethan scratched his head. We were thinking, maybe we could take you out to the Redwood National Park tomorrow. Hike some trails. Amelia chimed in, her voice dripping with contrition. I've been so moody, snapping at you. I'm really sorry, Helen. I thought it might be nice to reset, spend some peaceful time together. I almost laughed. If I hadn't uncovered their plan, I might have believed it. This charade of affection. But I smiled and nodded. Sounds nice. I'll go. They were stunned by my agreement. Amelia ushered me to my bedroom. Great. Then you better go start packing. We're leaving early. I didn't respond. I went to my room and locked the door. I stared at the empty backpack. I knew what they intended. But they didn't know I'd been planning long before them. It wasn't just them waiting for tomorrow. So was I believe the ending. It wouldn't be what they imagined. After breakfast, we set off. I sat quietly, watching the scenery grow barren. The farther we drove, the calmer my heart became. They'd chosen a remote state park known for disappearances and accidental falls. Treacherous terrain, unmonitored trails. Ethan knew exactly what kind of place this was. And I did too. "We're here," he said, pulling up near the mountain. A chill crept up my spine. Amelia looped her arm through mine. "Helen, what are you spacing out for? Come on, don't kill the mood." I smiled warmly. "Of course. We're here to relax, aren't we?" We hiked, winding higher until the sky glowed crimson. We stopped near an overlook. Ethan gestured toward a rock. "Mom, sit down. Take a breather." He pulled out a drink. "It's an electrolyte drink. Thought it might help you recharge." I took the bottle, raising it to my lips, pretending to drink. I never swallowed a drop. I caught a glance between Ethan and Amelia. That smug look confirmed what I knew. Perfect. I pulled out energy bars. "You two should eat something too. It's been a long climb." They took them eagerly, not noticing the faint tear marks I'd made on the packaging. I sat calmly, then let my body go limp and collapse to the ground. I heard Amelia's delighted laugh. She actually drank it. That was way too easy. Ethan's voice followed. "Sorry, Mom. But I really need that insurance money." I felt them drag me toward the edge. I counted silently. 5. Then 2 heavy crashes. I opened my eyes. They lay unconscious. I'd only pretended to drink. The energy bars contained the sedatives they'd hidden in the house. Over the past few days, I'd quietly taken some, and today, I returned it. Trying to trap me? You're far too naive. I shot them one last glance, then slung my backpack over my shoulder and began walking down the mountain. As night fell, the temperature would drop. Wild animals roamed. If they didn't find their way down before dark, that would be their lesson. I hummed as I descended. Near the trailhead, I heard faint cries. I made my way through the brush. A man lay injured, pale, his eyes glassy. He looked to be around my age. His voice trembled. "Can you call for help?" I dialed emergency services. At the hospital, I sat quietly. Later, a doctor came out. "He's going to be okay." When he regained consciousness, I heard his name. "Thank you," he said softly. "I'm Arthur Reeves, CEO of Reeves Industries." My heart skipped a beat. Reeves Industries, the firm Collins Company desperately sought investment from. Fate never forgets its timing. I didn't mention the connection between Arthur and Ethan. "You saved my life," Arthur said, gripping my hand. "If there's ever anything you need, just ask." I smiled. I just happened to be there. He spoke with such sincerity. I kept our encounter private. A quiet twist of fate. As I left, the hallway was crowded. Executives, assistants, friends, rushing to check on him. Even in bed, Arthur carried the calm authority of a man used to commanding a room. He wasn't just a patient, he was important. And for the first time, I felt something loosen in my chest. I didn't know if Ethan and Amelia had safely returned, but I wasn't in a rush to find out. Ethan probably never imagined his mother was a longtime member of a local mountaineering club, trained in wilderness first aid, and in better shape than most people half her age. That night I slept soundly. When I woke, the clock read 10 o'clock. I picked up the phone, dialing breathlessly. "Hello. Please, you have to help me. My son and daughter-in-law went hiking at Redwood National Park yesterday. They haven't come back. I'm so worried. Please, find them." The operator's voice grew serious. "Ma'am, stay calm. We're dispatching a search team immediately." 5 hours later, I got the call. We found them. I took my time getting to the hospital. When I opened the door to their room, I found Ethan and Amelia lying in their beds, pale and haggard. Ethan turned his head weakly. "Mom, where did you go?" I blinked innocently. "I'm not sure. I just remember waking up in a hospital room." I rolled up my pant leg to reveal a neatly wrapped ankle bandage. "Doctors said it was a mild sprain." Amelia gasped. "We passed out. All of a sudden. It doesn't make sense." "Did you?" I waved my hand, cutting her off. "What are you saying? Why would I ever do something like that? I love you both. I've been sick with worry." Ethan frowned, but said nothing. "Forget it," he mumbled, flopping back against the pillow. During their stay, Amelia didn't miss a beat. "I'm craving lobster today. Tomorrow I want abalone soup. I need to nourish my body." Once, I would have reminded her to eat light. But not now. I smiled, nodded, and went to the kitchen. I prepared everything just as she liked, adding chicken soup every day. She drank it with satisfaction. And I watched quietly, content. On the day of their discharge, I knew this charade had reached its final act. Ethan returned to his company, only to be stopped at the entrance. "I work here. Why can't I get in?" he demanded. The guard didn't flinch. "System's correct. You've been removed." Ethan froze. He messaged executives, receiving a curt reply. "Your position has been terminated." It hit him like a brick. He came home in a daze, collapsing onto the sofa. I looked over casually. "Rough day? You seem upset." His lips tightened. He snapped. "Am I really that worthless? Why would they fire me?" I patted his head. "Don't be so discouraged. I have money. I'll take care of you both. You shouldn't stress over work. In fact, why don't I send you two on a vacation? What do you say?" He looked up, startled, then nodded. "Yeah, maybe that wouldn't be so bad." Of course he said yes. I knew him too well. He never turned down an easy benefit. Amelia chimed in. "A vacation sounds perfect. We deserve a break." And just like that, I booked them a 7-day trip to Bali. They had no idea this was my final gift. As for me, I was turning the page. Arthur's business card sat in my drawer. He'd called, asking to see me again. "I still owe you dinner," he'd said warmly. "Not just to say thank you. I really do want to see you again." I ran my fingers over the card, feeling a softness I hadn't felt in years. Maybe my real life was just beginning. The first thing Ethan did after landing in Bali was message me, asking for travel money. I transferred the funds, adding with a smile, "If it's not enough, just let me know." That unchained their spending. From a few thousand to tens of thousands, they indulged without restraint. And each time, I sent the money generously. Meanwhile, back home, I began clearing them out. I hired movers, packed everything they owned, and sent it to the donation center. Anything valuable, I donated to charity. I left nothing behind. Then I changed the locks. By the time they returned from their luxury vacation, my cleanup was complete. As soon as they got off the plane, I sent them the final blow, a detailed invoice of everything they'd spent. Borrower, Ethan Miller. Because none of that money came from my personal accounts. I had advanced it through Ethan's own credit line, pushed past the limit, just as he liked to do. I'd merely followed his instructions, and let his name do the paying. They thought my money was theirs to take. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. Ethan's call came quickly, his voice laced with panic and fury. "What the hell is this? What are these bills you sent me?" My voice was calm. "The money you spent, Ethan. It's yours to repay." He paused, stunned, before erupting. "I'm your son. Isn't it normal for me to spend your money?" I chuckled softly. "Really? You still remember I'm your mother. Tell me, aside from when you needed money, have you ever looked me in the eyes and said, I love you, Mom? I hung up. An hour later, the doorbell rang wildly. Ethan's fist slammed against the door. Mom. Open up. Amelia's voice followed. Is this your way of cutting ties with your own son? What kind of mother does this? I walked to the door, opening it just enough to block the entrance. Ethan tried to force his way in, but I stood firm. Excuse me. What do you think you're doing? This isn't your house. His eyes blazed. What do you mean? You gave us this house. Amelia sneered. Don't act high and mighty. We let you stay here out of kindness. I laughed coldly and tossed a folder into Ethan's face. Take a look. Whose name is on the deed? Ethan opened the folder. His face went pale. This can't be. Amelia snatched it, flipping through the pages until her fingers trembled. It still says your name. You tricked us. I raised an eyebrow. You were in such a rush to collect your inheritance. You didn't even read the fine print. That document you signed? Just a non-binding property transfer intent form. Not legally valid. Her face turned ashen. Why would you give us a fake contract? I smiled faintly. Because you were too busy celebrating to notice the last line. For display purposes only. Not a legally binding transfer of ownership. Ethan lost control, shoving me. I'm your son. How could you do this to me? I steadied myself, pulling out another envelope. You're not my son. He froze. I handed him the envelope. This is a paternity test report. Your biological mother was the woman who broke up my marriage. She had you then vanished. Your father was kicked out of my life. But I took you in. I raised you. I gave you a home, a name, an education. I paid your debts, bought you a house, gave you a family. I never had another child. Because I gave everything to you. And what did you give me in return? Ethan sank to the floor, muttering. No, you're lying. I crouched down. I've already done more than enough for you. Now pay back what you owe and get out of my house. Then I turned to Amelia. Oh, and about that little drink on the mountain? I never touched it. You two were the ones who took your own medicine. I just returned it to its rightful owners. With that, I slammed the door. Outside, Ethan's sobs broke the silence. I stood on the threshold of my own life and didn't look back. All my life, I believed I'd been a good mother. I pulled him from the muck again and again. When trouble came, I held everything together. I thought if I loved him deeply enough, he'd give me something in return. I was wrong. Love, no matter how sincere, isn't guaranteed to be returned. The noise outside quieted. I peered through the peephole and saw Ethan and Amelia collapsed on the doorstep, faces pale. I didn't hesitate. I called 911. Years of indulgent meals, combined with their emotional unraveling, had finally caught up with them. Later, the doctor told me, they may never fully recover. Weakness will likely be their new normal. I gave a small smile. That's no concern of mine. As I left the hospital room, Ethan whispered, Mom, I'm sorry. I paused. You're right, I said softly. You should be sorry, for being a thankless parasite. I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard the sharp beeping of the monitor. Nurses rushed into the room. I stood outside, watching the chaos. Nothing more than an observer to a story I no longer belonged to. Maybe I never truly had what people call family. My phone rang. Arthur's name lit up the screen. Where are you? I'm coming to pick you up. The moment I heard his voice, something in my chest, tight and bruised for so long, finally softened. I drew a long breath, wiped away my tears, and walked toward the hospital entrance. Soon, a dark sedan pulled up quietly. I raised a hand and smiled. Long time no see. Arthur smiled back. It's been too long. Think it's time we finally take each other seriously? I didn't answer. I simply opened the door and slid into the passenger seat. Arthur was the kind of man who radiated calm. Not loud, not overbearing. He never tried to take center stage, but he was always there, holding the light when I felt lost. In the days that followed, I grew used to his presence. He took me to book clubs, encouraged me to join a pottery class. We walked together, cooked together. He listened to me talk about Buddy, and he let me share the darker memories. I began redecorating the house, stripping away remnants of a life I'd arranged for someone else, replacing it with my own tastes and joy. The kitchen, once a battleground, became a place of peace, where I cooked only for myself. In the backyard, I planted an herb garden. They thrived under the sun, just like my spirit. Arthur never made grand promises. He didn't talk of forever. He stayed quietly, steadily, living beside me, not for me. Sometimes we'd sit on the porch, and he'd gently take my fingers and say, "Helen, you've finally stopped living for everyone else." I'd smile and nod. Yes, I was finally living for me. One afternoon, I received an anonymous package. Inside were internal documents, executive-level personnel changes at Reeves Industries. Ethan's name had been erased from every project file. I didn't ask who sent it. I already knew. Arthur didn't say a word about it either. He just brewed me coffee and set it quietly on the table. I took the cup, looked at him, and smiled. "Thank you." He smiled back, saying nothing. Real happiness doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes, it simply comes after the storm, in the form of a steady hand reaching quietly for yours. 60 years of life. And finally, I was no longer trapped by the walls of one broken relationship. As for what comes next, I don't know if my twilight years will ever read like a fairy tale romance, but I do know this: I'm writing my own story now. That evening, we sat together in the backyard, listening to old jazz records. "Helen," Arthur asked gently, "do you think you'll ever fall in love again?" I turned to look at him, my eyes calm and certain. "Maybe I already have."